I'm Jason Carter. Physical optimization defines my life. The day I was born, doctors nearly killed me with medical malpractice. They said I'd never walk. I've been proving them wrong for 35 years. It's easier than you think to obtain super optimal health. I've devoted my life to it, and with my help, you can too. I'm Jason Carter, and this is Enzymental. And welcome to Enzymental. I'm Jason Carter, and today I wanted to tell you about the number one dietary irritant for the adrenal glands, and that is sugar. I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you guys. Sugar is actually a drug. Sugar's a poison also, and in fact sugar actually fits the classic definition of a poison, that being a compound that only your liver can metabolize, and the metabolism of sugar then causes multiple other metabolic problems throughout the body. This again is the classic definition of a poison, and it fits in with sugar perfectly well. But for today, what does sugar do to the adrenal glands? The cycle of sugar addiction perfectly complements the cycle of adrenal fatigue, and we're going to cover the effects of sugar in enormous detail in the future, but for right now, as an appropriate segue from adrenal exhaustion to sugar consumption, understand first of all that there is no dietary benefit to sugar. Glucose, which is the metabolic sugar of life, is made abundantly by the proteins we eat and also from complex carbohydrates like those found in all raw vegetables and fruit. So, what is the adrenal fatigue cycle? You encounter stress, which constantly stimulates the adrenals to produce cortisol, your primary stress hormone, and the constant demand for cortisol eventually causes adrenal burnout and low cortisol, leaving the body less able to respond to stress. And then the whole cycle repeats itself. Now, how does the sugar addiction cycle fit into this? When you eat high-sugar processed refined foods, your blood sugar spikes abnormally, provoking an insulin response from the pancreas. Again, insulin is a fat-storing growth hormone, and then with insulin in the blood, your blood sugar then plummets rapidly. You feel exhausted, sluggish, moody, and that drop in blood sugar then causes a cortisol spike because your brain believes that you are starving and consequently demands glucose immediately. This demand typically manifests as cravings for high-sugar refined carbohydrate foods, which unfortunately are so ubiquitous and so easy to find today. Things like sweets and bread and pasta and chips, crackers, cookies, alcohol. Primarily, the cravings come in the form of craving for sweets of all kinds. And so when you eat these foods, as we've discussed before, this in turn sets the deadly cycle in motion again. So that when you encounter stress, that will constantly stimulate the adrenals to produce cortisol. Cortisol elevation causes insulin elevation. So you can really see, when you look at it this way, how high cortisol and high insulin and eating a diet high in refined carbohydrates and sugar can really lead to insulin resistance over time. And it does. So from this blending of the adrenal fatigue cycle and the sugar addiction cycle, which are very similar as far as I'm concerned, you can see why sugar is such an accelerant of adrenal fatigue today, and yet another reason why everyone has some form of adrenal fatigue today, which they do. I'm going to tell you far more about sugar, especially how to deal with it, in future videos. But for now, remember that, as I said, sugar has no nutritional benefit to the body and is, in fact, a poison. So the first thing you can do for dealing with sugar is just examine what you eat every day and try to remove the foods that are high in sugar or anything like breads, pizza, pasta, chips, crackers, cookies, alcohol, sweets, anything refined, anything that when you eat it doesn't really satisfy you and in fact makes you hungry for more of the same. That's a good sign that you've eaten a nutritionally deficient food, which unfortunately are the foods that dominate our food supply today. They're cheap, they're abundant, and they're easy to find. So the benefit of that is that you should be able to easily spot these foods and easily avoid them. So that's the first thing you can do to helping your adrenals. As I've said, get all the sugar and refined carbohydrates out of your life consciously, and that will greatly improve your blood sugar. You do want to continue to eat regularly and not skip meals. Again, try to eat something every 2 to 3 hours while you're awake. Focus on fat, protein, and fiber. And again, fiber is raw vegetables and fruit. And so this will help the adrenal fatigue cycle by reducing the demand for cortisol. Keeping your blood sugar stable will really balance cortisol levels, and also it'll balance insulin levels. So actually, getting your blood sugar in line by removing the sugar and carbs from your diet as consciously as possible really helps to kind of settle both of these deadly cycles, the adrenal fatigue cycle and the sugar addiction cycle. Thanks for watching. I'm Jason Carter, and I'll see you next time on Enzymental. Stay healthy.